Mom's here waiting for a kiss. Oh. Hello. It is not Friday, but I can't wait another day to start the book that I want to read over the weekend. I just can't. I'm in a super spooky mood, and I want to start reading about lesbian necromancers in space. So I picked up Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. I sampled it on Kindle and it's so good. I was trying to hold off to start it tomorrow, Friday, which is when I usually do my reading vlogs. But I just can't. I really want to start it. At the moment, I have no idea what Gideon the Ninth is about other than the lesbian necromancers in space. It is 16 hours and 50 minutes long. I've got so much to do this weekend, so I'm not really going to have a day of just reading time like I usually have. But I am hoping to finish this book off nevertheless. I'm also going to be doing my Halloween decorating because I just can't wait. I wanted to do it last weekend, but life, you know how it is. So surprise! It's my reading vlog a day early. So I read about 2 hours of Gideon the Ninth last night. I had some mixed feelings about it when I went to bed, and as I was falling asleep last night, I was already planning what I was going to talk to you about this morning. I was going to come up here and list all of the good things in the book and kind of decide if I should continue reading. And the reason that I was going to do this is because although the very first chapter is very interesting and grabbing, I read a couple other chapters past that and it just wasn't going anywhere. The twist was fairly apparent to me and it was just taking forever to actually get to that point. And since the entire book is 16 hours and 50 minutes long, I just had to wonder if the wordiness was a stylistic choice of the author, and I'm going to be that frustrated all the way through. So I came upstairs planning to tell you all of the good things about the book to decide if those outweigh the way that the beginning dragged a little bit for me. And before I did that, I woke up and I had my cup of tea and I listened to a little bit of the book and I'm hooked again. So there's no question. I'm gonna keep reading. But let me tell you a little bit about Gideon the Ninth because I now know a little bit about what it's about. I'm just over 2 hours in. I think I'm on chapter 7 or so. And the book is from the point of view of Gideon, who is an indentured servant in the ninth house. Now, as per the world building, I believe that all of the houses are necromancers, and if you happen to have any kind of talent in that field, you get a position of honor. So the reverend daughter, Harrow, is a necromancer. And there's some interesting things going on in the house itself. Apparently, like at least 8-9 years prior to the book, she had reanimated her parents. I'm not entirely certain if she also killed her parents. It's established that Harrow is a psychopath. But it's not entirely clear if she killed her parents or if her parents killed themselves and then she reanimated them into puppets and has been playing them for her own personal political gain. But she is, for all intents and purposes, the lady of the house who Gideon has to answer to. She's a year younger than Gideon. She's 17 years old and Gideon is 18 years old. And they hate each other. And all I have to say is that if that is the romantic pairing, I'm not on board with that because I have absolutely no tolerance for redemption arcs on people who are shitty to other people. And Harrow is absolutely horrible to Gideon. The things that she does just because she hates her, just for fun. I'm not on board with that at all. As to Gideon's past, it's actually really interesting. She is in the Ninth. She's an indentured servant to the Ninth because her mother mysteriously fell down this like crack. Like the Ninth is on a planet that's fairly barren. I guess it has some minerals in it, maybe that's why they're there. But there's a huge crack in this planet, and in that crack is where the entire house is situated. I'm assuming some sort of like cave network. But anyway, Gideon's mother fell down that crack and died before she reached the bottom. But the incubator holding her day-old baby, Gideon, was intact, and therefore the lord and lady of the house, who are now dead, decided that, well, since we have now saved this child, she is now beholden to us, so she will be a indentured servant. And I guess she isn't a slave, but she does have to pay off that debt before she'll be given freedom. The story begins where she's trying her 87th attempt to escape, and Harrow thwarts that. I was kind of hoping she would get off planet because I happened to like her from the beginning. She's very interesting as a character, and this sounds like a horrible place to be. And I figured it would probably be pretty interesting if she was to join the cohorts, which are the military of this solar system. Hi, baby. You coming to see Mom? But that didn't happen, and it didn't happen on a fluke. I kind of like the way that it was set up that Harrow managed to find... Hi! I kind of like the way that this was set up, that Harrow managed to find out about this plot only a week before, and only because she received this summons from the Emperor saying that if she needed to give a written reply, she could just use the transport that she had already ordered. And that's when she found out that Gideon had ordered a transport without her realizing, because Gideon's actually pretty smart. I like that about it. Are you ready for your close-up, baby? So, the escape attempt, the 87th escape attempt is thwarted, and Gideon is left on the planet, still indentured, still not wanting to be there, but she's also kind of forced into another role. The summons from the Emperor was asking the Lord and Lady's heir, which is Lady Harrow, to go and compete in this competition to become a lictor. And I'm not exactly sure how that would place her in the hierarchy of houses, but from what Harrow has said, she really wants to win this competition. It would be a great honor, a great prestige for the house, and would probably cover up the fact that they've been slowly declining, probably ever since the parents died. But in order to go, she needs a cavalier. And the last actual cavalier of the house died many years ago. His heir was just completely unfit to take his place. And so Gideon, who is actually a pretty good hand with a longsword, is hastily retrained to wield a rapier and is sent off with Harrow to this competition. I'm just at the point where they're leaving the planet, and this is the part where I'm hooked again because something's actually happening in the plot. I look very much forward to all of the political things that I'm sure are going to be put into play as soon as they get to the Emperor's planet, where the competition will be held. And yeah, I intend to do some more reading today. Now, I picked this book up because I was like, hey, this is going to be super spooky. You know, necromancers in space. How can it not be spooky? And it does have a great atmosphere. I find that the author really does settings really well. She really brought that planet to life and the desolation there. But I don't know if I would really call this book spooky. It's got the necromancer element, and I'm enjoying that. But it's also very tongue-in-cheek. The narrator just has this dry humor. That's not a bad thing. I love funny books. So yeah, I better go get back to it. I've got so much to do today. Oh my goodness. I completely forgot about several things that I have to do before the weekend starts, so it's all piled into Friday. Yay! So it's going to be a very full day. But at least while I'm doing all the cooking, I can also be listening to a book. I love audiobooks. So I am so incredibly glad that I picked up Gideon the Ninth this weekend. It's rendered me a little bit speechless. Let me try to see if I can gather my thoughts a little bit more coherently and give you an accurate overview of this book. Do you remember when it was day 2 and I was thinking about just putting the book down because I wasn't getting into it? Whew. Am I so glad that I did not do that. Mainly the reason that I haven't updated you along the way is because I would rather be reading. I didn't want to put that book down even for a second. I really loved the spooky atmosphere in Gideon the Ninth. I loved the humor. That really lightened it. It was spooky without being scary, which was exactly what I wanted, right? So I've already told you a little bit about the plot. When I last spoke, they were just leaving their home planet of the Ninth. They got to this secluded, kind of ritualistic, sacred planet where they are the only people on the planet, and the only way to even land a shuttle is to have it remotely driven there. So they're basically stranded in this complex on this planet until such a time as one of them unlocks the secrets of becoming a lictor. And as the plot unfolds, everybody, of course, wants that coveted position, and none of them want to work together because they all want it for themselves. And there's a lot of political intertwining. There's murder later on, and you're wondering, is it the complex itself? Is it haunted? Is it one of the other participants? Who can you trust? Who can't you trust? There's a lot of questions like that. Gideon doesn't even know if she can trust Harrow at some points, and I was completely with her because, like I said, I did not like Harrow as a character at the beginning. I like her a little bit better as a character at the end. One of the things I loved best about this was the world building, because you don't realize that Gideon is a part of a cult. She was raised as a part of a cult religion until you get to everybody else, and they're trying to observe everybody's religion and theirs to be inclusive, and everybody's not trusting her, and really they're all afraid of her, and they're all keeping their distance, and it's really, really interesting to get it from that perspective, right? Because it's just presented as this is the way, this is the religion of this world, and you don't really realize the truth behind that until you get deeper and deeper into the novel. But one of the things that she was doing was she was kept to a vow of silence, mostly because Harrow didn't want her to talk to anyone. So Harrow just flat out ordered her to stop talking at all to anyone, dead or alive. So she's going around caked in this face makeup that makes her look like a skull, not talking at all, and just creeping everybody out, but they're all talking around her, right? So she's learning some interesting information. And one of my favorite parts of this book is when somebody finally turns to her and asks her opinion for something. They're like, well, what do you think we should do next? Come on, Gideon, give your opinion. And so, like, she's given permission to talk for, like, one of the only times in this book, and she thinks to herself, and then she goes, did you know that if you take the first 3 letters of your last name and the first 3 letters of your first name, it spells sex pow? There's a reason that her necromancer told her just to keep her mouth shut, and it ended up being really to her benefit because she couldn't say things like that. and completely ruin the mystery of herself, right? The ending was so action-packed that, like, once the ball started rolling to answer all of these questions, it was just one after another after another after another, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh my god, is she gonna come out of this on top? I'm so in love with this book. I have to get a physical copy for my shelves. I loved it so much. I would say 4 out of 5 stars, just because the beginning didn't hook me right away and I was thinking about putting it down, but like that is so far in the past that I can't even remember it right now. I can't wait to reread this book. It's one of my favorites of the year for sure, for sure, for sure. So tonight I may read another graphic novel. I might not read at all. I have a Dungeons and Dragons session in just a little bit, so I will be happily role-playing my Kenku character who really wants to fly and is maliciously compliant when he's given an order. So I am looking forward to that. Edgar's looking forward to all the scraps of food that he's going to be getting. And it's been all around a really good weekend. I hope you had as great a weekend. Let me know in the comments what you read, because I really want to know that too. Until next time, happy reading.